NFL season beginning is because Chris is calling the Titans-Dolphins game
on Sunday.
And you know who's doing sideline for that game? Our friend Sarah Kustok.
Yep,
so that's
nice
a game,
team.
If you're a First Things First fan, if you can check out, you should do that.
Chris Carter, Sam Rosen, and Sarah Kustok. But
Absolutely.
we are so happy to have you here. We've loved your insight all along, so it should be a fun 3 hours. Lot to get to on the program. Tom Brady starts his quest for a 6th Super Bowl. Dak Prescott looks to enter year 3 on the right foot, but we start with the NFL season opener. Last night's game between the Eagles and the Falcons. It was a rematch of last year's NFC divisional game, and like last year, the Eagles won. This time, thanks to 2 touchdowns from Jay Ajayi. Like last year, Matt Ryan and the Atlanta offense stalled out in the red zone multiple times, including during the final possession. The Eagles offense ran that play, much sputtering, so much behind Nick Foles, they had to dust out the Philly special again. After the game, Foles discussed what went into that decision.
Honestly, we were both thinking the same thing at the same time. I went over there to talk to him and say this might be a good time, and he pointed to the call sheet, and I was like, that's what I was coming over here for. So it, worked again.
The biggest thing again, just again, no panic on the sideline, resiliency, toughness, hanging with each other through all the, kind of the ups and downs, the ebb and flow of the game, the mistakes, the penalties, turnover, just the guys hanging together. Again, there was no panic tonight.
So when you get your chances against a good defense like that, you've got to capitalize on your opportunities. So disappointed. I thought we battled. We fought like crazy. We knew it was going to be a tough game coming in here. It was going to be in a 60-minute game. It was that way. But it's disappointing to not leave here with a win.
Look, guys, this wasn't a great game by either team in this one. Certainly not the way they wanted to come out. We found out before the game Carson Wentz could be out several weeks. So, Nick, I start with you. Are you confident in the Eagles and in Nick Foles after what you saw last night?
Oh, I'm not confident in Nick Foles at all. Not at all. My level of confidence in Nick Foles is about where it was when Carson Wentz got hurt the first time, or when he got hurt initially. And I said, well, now you're drawing dead to win a Super Bowl. You lose an MVP and go to Nick Foles. But I am as confident as ever in the players surrounding Nick Foles, most notably the guys on the other side of the ball. It wasn't just that the defense stymied what I think will be, red zone struggles notwithstanding, a very good Falcons offense, but they did it in brutal conditions. That game, it was 80 degrees at kickoff. It was hot, humid. You saw guys cramping up. And what were the Eagles able to do? Send wave after wave of defensive linemen out there. They were able to stymie the Falcons' running attack. They made Matt Ryan look so bad that I was wondering if he is dealing with an injury. When you look at what the Eagles have coming up, having games against Tampa, Indianapolis, and a Titans team that I actually think the Titans could be good this year, in the next month, if that's about the timeline for Carson Wentz, that defense alone could be enough to win those games because Foles won't play worse than he played yesterday. His best play was a pass catch rather than a throw. So, no, I am not confident in Nick Foles, but I am confident in this Philadelphia Eagles team because mostly of the guys that play the position you used to, those defensive linemen.
Absolutely. And when you talk about competing for a championship, you have to have defensive linemen that can get after the quarterback. And you saw that pass rush on that last Atlanta Falcons drive.
Yes.
Those guys were getting after Matt Ryan. He didn't have a whole lot of time to set up and to go through the defense, through his progression, and make the right read. So when I look at this team, it's more so about the supporting cast, not Nick Foles, and the confidence that this group has based on what they were able to do last year. Doug Peterson said it in that little clip that we just played. This group didn't panic. After probably one of the worst quarters of football we've seen this offense play in the last couple of years, where they only had 1 total yard, that group came out in the second half. They were able to be productive, put together drives. You saw what Nick Foles was able to do in terms of facilitating the offense. He wasn't great last night. I think it was one of his worst performances as a starting quarterback for the Eagles, but you saw they did enough on the offensive end. The running game came to play, especially in the second half. You talk about that. They only had 16 yards rushing in the first half. They ended up finishing with over 120 yards rushing. So that's, to me, the biggest part of this thing, being complementary to the strengths of this team, which is the offensive line and the defense.
And that's where I want to give you credit. You said yesterday, because I was talking about how good I think the Atlanta front seven can be, and you talked about the size differential between the Eagles' offensive line and even a talented Atlanta front seven, an undersized Atlanta front seven. And you said if they're leaning on you throughout the game, come the second half, that's when you can get tired if you're a defensive lineman. That's when that offensive line can start to create holes. And that's what I saw. I didn't think Jay Ajayi was markedly better one half to the next, but the holes were there. He had more opportunities because the Falcons don't have the D-line rotation Philly has. They don't have the personnel. They don't have the size. And the Eagles were able to really impose their will. And everything did flip on, as you alluded to, a little variation of the Philly special. They actually ran the play, not that they...
Patriots.
The Patriots play.
The Patriots play, the one that Tom Brady, where he couldn't make the catch, that's the play they ran. From that moment forward, their offense at least had a little bit of flow to it.
But is the team good enough? And we also both mentioned the supporting cast. Is that cast supporting enough that they could withstand Nick Foles and keep Carson Wentz out until he's ready to come back?
Well, I think they can do